Hey guys, it's George here. On a trail today, I'm going for a little hike. I have the spare time thanks to being independently self-employed. Barbara and I, we work it out. So if Barbara has a job where she needs some help with and stuff, then I don't book anything that day so that I can make the time for her. That was the case today, but in between I have some spare time, and this happens, it doesn't happen all the time, but it is nice when it does. And sometimes you don't even get the right idea of it, and the time just goes and you don't get it back. But today I decided I'm gonna pack my drone with me and I'm gonna go for a little hike and see what I can find, so yeah, here I am, not too far from the White Mud Drive, on a trail that I'm not really supposed to be on, to be honest with you. It says the trail is no longer safe due to environmental concerns. I think you'll see why just in about a second and a half. Yeah. See, and I can tell that there are some people still using their bicycles to go over this spot. For me, just hiking here, that's enough. Yeah, I wouldn't ride my bike here just because it's slanted like this. I mean, there was a trail further toward our neighborhood where it was similar case, but the trail was more flat and it was narrow, and I was quite good at going through there, no problem at all. But back to the subject of being independently self-employed. That's what I've been doing for the past, I want to say about 10 years now. Maybe it's a little more, give or take. It started gradually. I was still working at a job, starting to do minor jobs for people. And then when I got laid off, so then I started my own business and home repairs, minor renovations, that kind of thing. Oh, this trail. But they're riding their bikes here, most definitely. Well, yeah, I'll pick this up after I get down here. Don't want to wipe out in the mud. Wouldn't be the end of the world, but be a little dirty. So being independently self-employed, obviously it has certain advantages. You definitely have a bit more freedom, but that can change on a dime. Sometimes you don't get a call for a certain period of time. Could be a week, could be 2 weeks, could be a month. And when you get into that situation, which usually happens when either you're new and nobody knows you yet, you need to put some money out there for advertising or whatever, or sometimes it's not even the money, sometimes it's just the right idea. Or it could happen when, say, the economy is really slow. People just don't have money to get the stuff done that they need, and all of a sudden things go dead. This does happen, and when it does, well, you have to jump at every job that you could possibly get. Sometimes they're not the ones you like, sometimes they tie you up longer than you would like, all these things. But this doesn't last. It goes up and down, always goes up and down. What tends to happen is that you're either super busy, and then there's the other extreme, where you don't have anything for a little while. And the key to dealing with that is really just the budgeting. Once you got that down pat, then, you just take the freedom that you get when you're not busy and you find something to do that you love, like making YouTube videos. This year I've been fixing a truck. I'm still working on it. And well, it's really something that's related to work, and I probably got a little bit of in over my head with it and stuff, but I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't fun. So now most business owners would probably just go to the truck dealer, lease a truck, and then write off the monthly lease payment on their business expenses and stuff. And yeah, that's definitely an option, but there's the price point. The price for a new pickup truck is ridiculously expensive. And that brings me to, in most cases, you do need some equipment, so you have to invest into stuff, you know, and it doesn't always pay back instantly. So it could be very hard to do when you're used to working in a job where everything's provided for you and where you can rely on your steady paycheck and stuff. But again, it boils down to some form of budgeting, and that budgeting should really start before you even start your business, because it is basically the first requirement that you need to have more freedom, to be independent. You know, the money isn't always going to come. You make your own payday. It happens when you worked for the right client for a few hours, a few days, or whatever it may be. I try to keep it short, you know. Few days, that's enough for me. But I've had jobs in the past where I was working for the same client for a couple of weeks or so, you know. I try to avoid that because to me that feels like a job. But there's nothing wrong with it, you know, it's whatever you are comfortable with. But there's also a fine line, because some people consider themselves self-employed, but they're hardly independent, and that's because they have a contract with a company where they have to give them so many hours of their service, or they have to be available whenever there's something this customer needs. And well, while this arrangement may work for some people, that is not what the spirit of being independent is about. You know, you don't want to sign any kind of contract where you're basically an employee, but now instead of having all the benefits that an employee has, you have none of that. You have to take care of all your own stuff, and you are perhaps not adequately compensated for that, but you've given away your freedom. You've signed away your freedom, and sometimes that could be various degrees and stuff, but it's something to be aware of. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was an owner-operator having my own highway tractor. And the way many of these work, myself included, was you contract to a carrier and you're pretty much guaranteed a certain amount of money every month. Well, I say money, but what it really was miles, because this contract was paid by the mile, and it wasn't paid by actual miles, it was paid by computer miles. They had a program called the PC Miler, and it usually picked the shortest route, sometimes regardless of whether you can actually take that route with your truck, because, you know, big truck has restrictions here and there. So that's how you would get paid. And then whatever loads they would give you, you had to take it. Oh, there are more coming?
Yep. There's 2 more.
For example, the carrier that I was contracted to always made a promise, we'll get you home for the weekend. So you would get loads all week long. Wouldn't even get a chance to stop at home. Once you came back to the yard, which was close to home, you would have to pick up another trailer and then deliver it for the next day or something like that. You know, usually 600 mile or somewhere in there, you know. So then finally, they'd get you home for the weekend. But the way this tended to look was you would pick up a load. And I have to tell you, I was based in Ontario, Canada. So sometimes that's an example that happened quite often. You'd get a load, say, in Pennsylvania or North Carolina or somewhere like that on a Friday. Then finally, Friday afternoon, when everybody goes home, you are on the road now. And if you're lucky, you can make it home by Saturday morning. But if you're too far, this can turn into Sunday morning or whatever. Then, usually, they already have a plan for you to head out again. This could go anywhere from a Tuesday morning delivery to even a Monday morning delivery. So you might get home Sunday morning. You have part of the day with your family, but then by Sunday night, you got to be back at the yard. And then you got to pick up the trailer and you got to head out. That could be totally illegal, but it all depends how busy it is. You are often expected to just cheat your way through. Of course, this couldn't happen every weekend, but you see where this is going. You're self-employed, but you're not independent. You're actually a slave. You're actually much worse off than a regular worker who has all the standards and all the benefits in place. So to me, the meaning of being independently self-employed is truly that you do your own thing. You find your own customers. And I already explained the downside of that, but the advantages are also quite obvious, because when you don't want to take on any work, as long as you budget it correctly, you can afford to tell people, well, I cannot do it this week or next week, but I'll be available after that. And that's really where your freedom comes in. As long as you can make it work, you can arrange your own situation, your living situation, your lifestyle in a way that doesn't cost you more than you make, then you're laughing. You're independently self-employed and you've got it made. I mean, you still have to work for your living, and you're probably not going to get rich ever. Unless, of course, you got a YouTube channel like me, and instead of getting 100 or 200 or 1,000 views a video, all of a sudden you get 100,000. I don't know. Besides really enjoying making videos, talking to the camera, doing different things, coming up with ideas, fixing the truck and sharing it, you know, flying the drone, capturing beautiful footage, and like all these things that I enjoy about making YouTube videos. There's also, it's a little bit of a gamble, you know, but you don't really put a whole lot of stuff in there that'll ruin you. You just put your time in. That you gamble with your time. When you first start out doing YouTube, making a decent video takes a lot of time, and it's not just the editing and filming time, it's also the time to research and find out, learn what actually works, because not everything does. But the rewards can be pretty sweet. You know, right now my YouTube channel doesn't earn a whole lot of money, but I get a paycheck from Google every other month. And it does make a difference, you know, it does make a difference for me. So that's one of the reasons I've kept it up. And I mean, the potential of getting a lot more is there, it exists. So yeah, to me, being self-employed, it means to be independent. To me, that's also the essence of freedom. You don't want to be somebody else's slave, work on somebody else's terms. Doesn't work for me. As some of you know, about 2 years ago, my independently self-employed was really in jeopardy. My truck had got stolen with most of my tools inside there. All of a sudden, the option of applying for a 9-to-5 job somewhere became really, really big. It would get me out of trouble at the moment. It would actually provide a steady paycheck, and probably if I would have went for that, this would have been the end of my self-employment. But thankfully, I didn't do that. I am really grateful for the fact that I resisted the urge to look in that direction. The other thing is what I did instead. I actually bought a more expensive drone with whatever money I had, and I got my advanced drone license in order to start another business, to start a drone business, capture footage for people who need it, say to sell their houses, or freelance for news companies and this kind of thing. Up to this point, I haven't been really that successful. I've gotten a few really minor gigs with it, which was fun. I am still available for capturing drone footage for people, and I even have a second channel where I share my experiences that I have with that and that I created really to promote this business. Being independently self-employed, I can highly recommend it. Don't go and grow a big business unless, of course, your objective is purely financial. If you want a life that you can enjoy, that gives you fulfillment, I highly recommend being independently self-employed. And I'm sure if you think about it, you probably have some skills that you can develop to the point where somebody's going to need it, and then you can put yourself out there and market yourself doing that task. Perhaps you're already leaning toward being self-employed, doing something other than a 9-to-5 job. Well, I think our economy will be better off for it. It's more freedom for everybody. You know, we shouldn't all be working for the big corporations. And believe me, corporations, big and small, approach me to onboard me and to entice me to join their workforce, you know, as a contractor, so-called independent, you know, promising so much work. And well, it definitely would be a way to make my life easier in one way, but at the same time I'd be committing myself to something I really don't want, something that I've managed to do without for so long now. And I tell you, I would not go back. I would not go back, and I'm proud that even in the toughest of times, I did not go back to a 9-to-5 job. I hope you like this video. If you like more content like that, and other stuff, of course, my channel is quite the variety, you might want to subscribe and give me the thumbs up. I'll see you in the next video.